How's it going, guys? Let's talk about the All Blacks for a minute because the French, they went to New Zealand. They ended up getting a whitewash. They put up a very, very good fight up against the All Blacks, but ultimately ended up losing all three tests. But I want to break down not only this, but the future fixtures for the All Blacks. So please, as always, like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And let's get into it. Now, France, they really did push the All Blacks quite a bit, really made them dig deep and really made them find that extra little bit of courage to get anything out of these games, especially in the first and third test. The second game was pretty much a run out. But I mean, we're looking at the scores 31-27, 43-17, and then 29-19. So, again, if you look at the scores, it does tell a different tale as to how strong and how ferocious the French were at times, especially in that third test where they were pretty much leading most of the game, and then at the end of the game the All Blacks managed to find that extra little oomph and bang in a couple good tries. But it is what it is. The All Blacks, managed to come through with three solid wins. We also did get to see players like Duplessis Karifi. We got to see players like Fabian Holland really show that he is one of the best locks in world rugby. I didn't know much about him, but ever since this, I have grown to absolutely love him. He has been dominant entirely. If you look at him in club rugby, as I've been trying to find every single highlight clip I can possibly find of this guy, he is phenomenal. He dominated as a lock in the tests, and he always came up with the goods when it was needed. So it was a very, very strong performance from the All Blacks. They also got to experiment a fair amount with some players. So we are definitely going to be seeing a lot of upcoming All Black stars in the future, especially in the upcoming tests. Now let's break into that because we have the All Blacks going to Argentina to play the Los Pumas, and this is going to be a difficult test. I can only see this going one way. And with an All Blacks win, they're going to be playing on the 16th of August and then on the 23rd of August. And the Argentinians have shown that they are strong. England found a lot of frailties in their defense and managed to put in stunning wins up against the Argentinians. And the All Blacks are going to be, no less. The All Blacks are going to be coming in with hopefully a much stronger squad. A lot of players coming out of injury, and hopefully they don't sustain many injuries, between now and then. So I can only see this going one way. All Blacks win. If the Argentinians do manage to, come up with the goods, hey, kudos to them. But looking at the squad, looking at the depth that the All Blacks have, even if the All Blacks had to play the side that they played up against France, I can still see Argentina losing to that All Black side. But then comes the big test in September, right? The South Africans versus the All Blacks. Springboks, All Blacks. If there's ever been a greater rivalry in world rugby, I don't know what there is. Right? We all know this started in 1995, and ever since then, the Springboks and the All Blacks have been the most dominant sides in world rugby. No matter which way you look at it, there has been no more dominant sides in world rugby since that World Cup. But the first game, Eden Park, the whole rugby world is going to be looking at this with nails in their mouth, chewing until it's raw. This is going to be the biggest game of the year, right? Who's going to come out on top? Will the All Blacks manage to defend their record, or will South Africa finally be able to break the duck and get a win at Eden Park that they so badly won? Who knows? I think this is one of the strongest sides that South Africa have had in a very long time. Not only have they won two World Cups in a row, they are now pushing for a third. And the talent that we have on show, like your Edward van der Merwe, Monet van den Berg, we have the likes um, Kanan Moody, Ethan Hooker. The list just goes on. Nhlabakanye, serious talent that we have coming up. So I don't know. I'm ever hopeful. and I feel that the Springboks will come through with a win at Eden Park. But the All Blacks are so dominant; they are so strong, especially at home. So that is going to be a big one. I know I might get a lot of hate from the All Blacks. That obviously, naturally, you are going to want the All Blacks to win up against the South Africans. But personally, and this might be me being biased, I really do think the Springboks will have it in them to come through with a narrow win over the All Blacks. But then at Sky Stadium in Wellington, 13th of September, the Springboks end up playing the All Blacks once again, and again, it's not going to have that same kind of oomph as it would at Eden Park, but it's still going to be a big game. And I think this is going to be one of those that's going to decide who's going to sit first and second in World Rugby, right? And who knows? By the end of the year, we could potentially see the All Blacks sitting at number one. So let me know what you guys think in relation to that. I think that's going to be pretty spicy. After that, we have New Zealand versus Australia, 27th of September. The Australians are going to play at Eden Park, which again, very very big game. Australians are really going to have to put up a big fight. They have a big season ahead of them, especially considering they are currently playing the Lions. If they can get anything out of this Lions tour, brilliant. Just kudos to them. Get them prepared and extra ready for these games. But this is by far going to be the biggest game for Australian rugby this year. Even though they are taking on the Lions right now, I do feel that that kind of weight that it does have playing up against the All Blacks, especially at Eden Park, is going to be their biggest game of their season. And then they are going to Perth, where the All Blacks are going to be visiting Australia. And again, honestly, looking at this, I think there's only two sides that can potentially beat the All Blacks here, and that is um, Ireland and South Africa. In my opinion, right now, these are the only two teams that have the capability to beat um, the All Blacks with their remaining fixtures. So, talking about that, moving on into the next in the Northern Tour, where we are going to be seeing New Zealand versus Ireland in Chicago, which again is going to be a very, very big game. Ireland are going to be stacking and packing some heat. We have the likes of your Dan Sheehan, Porter, Gibson Park, you know, Prendergast, you're going to have Bundy Aki, you're going to have Ringrose, you're going to have James Lowe. The list is just bloody endless when it comes down to the Irish. They've got such a depth of talent, they've got such a strong squad. Majority of them taking up and making up the Lions. So, yeah, the All Blacks are definitely going to have a bit of difficulty here. It's going to be on neutral ground, so it's all up for grabs and who's going to come out better. But if the Irish are able to keep everybody strong and fit, I think this is going to be a very, very big test for the All Blacks, and is really going to put in that extra little grit. And they are really going to have to grind their teeth and find that extra little bit of um, oomph, you can say, to get anything out of this island game, because this island game, they are going to be coming in hard, fast, and they're going to be wanting to use that kicking game to their advantage. So, yeah, that's going to be a very, very big game for them. Moving on, then we have the 8th of November up against Scotland in Edinburgh. I do feel this will be a relatively routine win for the All Blacks once again. But the Scottish are again never to be underestimated. You have that Huey Palutu partnership, is quite possibly my favorite partnership, well, center pairing in world rugby right now, that are just absolutely phenomenal. But you have the likes of your Duhan van der Merwe, you got your Blair Kinghorn, Finn Russell, Ben White, and Pierre Schoeman. It's crazy. They have ridiculous talent. Especially like you look at someone like Rory Dodge, for instance. Who's an absolute bulldog. So not to be underestimated, but I do feel it's going to be a relatively routine win for the All Blacks there. And then ending off their year, we have England versus the All Blacks, 15th of November at Twickenham in London. That's going to be a very, very big game. The All Blacks are really going to have to pull out every single stop, because the English seem revived. Borthwick has really seemed to get them going this year, with Maro Toje as captain. A lot of the English players out with the Lions squad. But a lot of these players are developing. We got a lot of young talent developing as well, and the English do seem like a completely different squad than what they were in 2024. It's night and day, to be honest. Completely night and day. Um, the English, they seem to be developing their players at a ridiculously fast rate, but I do feel this is going to be a tight game. But again, I have the All Blacks just to scrape by in this one. It's a big venue, it's a big stadium. Hearing that a crowd roar with this rejuvenated England side, I mean, we saw the likes of Henry Pollock really coming up, but I'm really hoping to see players like Cunningham South putting their best foot forward. I want to be seeing players like Caden Murley hopefully get a bit more time. I think he's been playing excellent. And same thing for like Jack van Boersvliet. I feel he has been absolutely brilliant as well. But just to see other players like your Max Ajomo, which I'd love to see a bit more, when you have the likes of your Ollie Chessums, you have the likes of your Maro Atoje, Ellis Genge, who's been so strong, Will Stewart. I love a bit of Jamie George. I don't think he's going to be fully ready for that one. I think he will be more of a substitute to come on. I don't think he has the legs for a game like this anymore. But yeah, the English have a lot of talent. Your Tom Currys of the world who will really be putting in a brilliant performance. It's such a shame that they will not be able to use a player like Jack Willis or Jacques Willis, who has been adopted by the French, because he's just been absolutely phenomenal. He's been one of the most outstanding players for Toulouse, but because he plays in France, he is not eligible to play for England. Um, but otherwise, it's going to be a difficult game. Both teams are going to be on form. I do feel that this will end up being more of a territory, a territory game. Who's going to be able to get that territory and who's going to dominate in terms of that line out. But yeah, that's going to be a fire game. And then ending off 22nd of November, All Blacks versus Wales. I don't have any hope for the Welsh. Um, they do have a new coach. I believe it's Steve Tandy or something like that, which it's lovely to see someone actually being appointed. Hopefully they are able to really knuckle down, get the defense sorted, because a solid defense is oftentimes a brilliant attack. So, getting themselves sorted, getting them as solid as possible, you know, nailing out any of these defensive frailties, trying to keep people out of their try line would be brilliant, and then use the players like Jack Morgan to really start putting in a lot of pressure, using players like Thomas Williams, to start distributing as he does so well. Um, but honestly, this is going to be a very, very tough tour for the All Blacks. It's a long tour, or it's a long season as well. For a rugby fan like myself, it's amazing because we get to see so much rugby. But this is always going to come with a lot of injuries, a lot of stress on the bodies. So we are going to be seeing a lot of changes. I will be following this as much as I possibly can. You know, uh, as we get along. Now it's just a waiting game. You know, I always hate it when there's all of these gaps between rugby. If it was up to me, I'd have rugby every single week. But it is what it is. These players are human; they aren't machines, and they do need rest as well. So, let me know what you guys think. I have a feeling Eden Park, South Africa, New Zealand, Springboks, All Blacks. That's going to be the game that everybody is going to have on their lips. But I want to hear what you guys think. And do you think Springboks can take a win at Eden Park? So as always, please like, subscribe. It really does help my channel grow. And I just want to be providing the best content for you guys. So please hit that like button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.